Welcome back to another video. In this one, we're going to be talking with a number of different pros, and they're going to be breaking down a few tips that will help you catch walleyes in the upcoming weeks. First things first, I'm going to throw it off to Brad Hawthorne, and he's going to talk about location, which of course is always one of the most important things when you want to catch walleyes.
So location for walleye is it's kind of different on every lake. You know, it pays to bounce back to the bait fish and know when your bait fish spawn. If you got a heavy tulipy population, they spawn in the fall, and those fish are going to come in shallow, and they're going to do their deal in shallow, and they're going to take most of the predatory fish with them when they go to spawn, because obviously they're schooling fish, and when they go in, they're food. So like Lake Mille Lacs, where those fish come in and they tend to hold there because there's residual fish spawning, and they hold there for 2 or 3 weeks. Now, Upper Red Lake, you take a lake like this, and again, it's shallow because a lot of the food for the minnows is in shallow, so we end up looking shallow. So this time of year, it almost always reigns true that some of the first places we look, not only because the fish are there, but because we can get there just via access. You can't always access the middle of the lake on first ice, nor do you want to, because it's not safe. So it's a good thing for ice fishermen that walleyes and perch and crappies and a lot of these fish tend to relate shallow in early ice, which is good for us not only in safety, but they tend to be in higher numbers too. So take a look at your bait fish in your lake, and it'll usually tell you if you have a good shallow early ice lake or not. And if not, sometimes you just got to get out to that first break weed edge, which is a lot of times in 12 to 18 feet of water, so you don't have to get out too far regardless. So take a look at your bait, take a look at what kind, take a look at when they spawn, and it'll let you know where you need to start.
Next up, we got Joel Nelson. Joel's going to share a few jigging tips that'll help you put more fish on the ice.
I want you to fish higher in the water column than you're used to. I don't want you wallowing around down in the bottom. Now, we know that walleyes love feeding off the bottom. So often you'll see that mark just come right off the bottom and separate and work its way up. And that's great because that's where they're originating from. But the problem is if you're jigging down there, two things happen. The first thing that happens is you're surprised. You don't see the bite. You don't get to see that fish develop on your jig, and you get to work it upwards as easily. A lot of times it's there. You might even feel it hit and miss it because you're blind. If the marks merge, you don't see much. The second problem with that, the fish doesn't see you as easily. So if you're a fish and you're looking across just like you would the underwater landscape, like you would in an underwater camera, you see a lot of brown or lake bottom out in front of you. Now, things that are higher off the bottom, say at least 2 or 3 feet off the bottom, they get to look up, and quite often that's light coming down. Or if you're shallow enough, maybe the bottom of the ice. And fishing higher in the water column, again, easier for the fish to see you and easier for the fish to find it and you to be ready for it. So those are the two things that you need to do, and that fishing higher in the water column is really going to help you with. All right, that's number one. The number two thing that I'd love to see you do when you're out walleye fishing is give them a buffet, a variety. If you're fishing with other anglers, which so often we are, right? Fish a number of different looks. Give them a horizontal look, give them a vertical look. You want something with rattle and flash in there, maybe to attract fish into the spread. And then definitely a good live bait alternative or a live bait solution that's going to have them come in and eat on the days where rattle and flash might drag them in, but not necessarily get them to seal the deal. So go ahead, vary your spread, fish together as a team, right? Use all of the rods and the people that are with you and the anglers that are fishing with you to your advantage, right? This is one big science project. That's the way I look at walleye fishing. It's a super ton of fun because it's like a lab experiment every day out on the ice. We're trying this lure, we're trying this depth, we're trying this bait, we're trying rattle, we're trying color, we're trying flash, we're trying style and profile of the bait. And with enough looks in a target-rich environment, you let the walleyes tell you what they want to eat, and that is the best way to figure out the secret to any bite. You're going to have clear patterns, clear winners that emerge as, hey, these are the ones that work for today. For the time period we're out here, for the weather conditions we're faced with, for the depth of water we're at, this is what the walleyes love. today. The way you figure that out is by varying your spread.
Next up, we have an interesting little tidbit from Donnie O'Burt, something to think about when you're trying to figure out where you want to set up camp, where you want to look on vast bodies of water.
We're set up, there's my stuff there where I just marked that fish. We're setting up right on the just the cracks here. And what's your thought process with that, Donnie?
So I've always thought that you know, red is relatively featureless. I know there are some rock piles here and there, but this early ice on red, I think of the ridges that collect snow like this almost the same as you would look at a mud line in the summer, somewhere where a predator that can see in lower light conditions may hang out, where there's less light penetrating the water column, right? So it's a good ambush spot if you're a predator, a good spot to sit out of sight and wait for something to eat to swim by.
Yeah, I'm with you. No, it is interesting. It's like every single time we set up, it doesn't matter if it's Red Lake, if it's Mille Lacs, any of the above. It seems like these cool crack spots. For some reason, there's, you know, it's something different.
So a lot of times where you see these ridges and cracks is actually, it's relative to the bottom composition. So if you have a depth change, a lot of times there will be a matching ridge in the ice where it breaks, and that's just a difference in pressure. So it's something to keep in mind as you're going over these pressure ridges. You know, almost every one that's a real long kind of straight line, that probably corresponds with a depth change on the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Another reason why I like to be right next to these guys is in case one of them busts off. I'm close.
You want to be on the right side of it.
So I get some time to react.
That's right.
Set lines are really important this time of year. Having an extra line out there, just doubling your odds of catching fish. Some days you'll catch all your fish on set lines, so they're really important. In this next segment, Bro is going to break down exactly how he likes to set up an iFish Pro, how he likes to rig it up to catch more fish.
So what I like to do is I'll use an outside rod, and this one here specifically is a 38-inch, and this is an iRazor from St. Croix. The reason I like this one, it's bigger, but it's got that nice bend at the tip that's a little softer, but huge backbone, and it's got a good grip here. So I'll take this is a fathead. You know, if you can get rainbows or shiners, do it. Go in the dorsal fin and be careful not to go through the spine. Put it through, and then I'll actually put the sinker a little closer to the minnow, because the minnow can actually outswim the fish sometimes, because we got them tethered really nice. And I got a size 4 gimmick head hook on there, so there's a little triggering device that goes on the line, and this is an iFish Pro. It's so simple. I just like how they are. And then you have a bobber knot right there that stops. So what I'll do is I'll put this in here, and you kind of set the rod where you need to set it. Then the iFish Pro, you just take this and put it over the flag. There we go. Set. See how simple that was? And so I'll close the bail here. Just have the line just semi-tight. You don't want it too tight, you want them to be able to pop it. So when they hit, the flag comes up, and you come over and you reel them in. No line all over the ice. So it's a modern way to dead stick using a tip up.
Well, that's about all we got for you in this video. Special thanks to all the guys for sharing a bunch of really good information. If you enjoyed this video and you learned something, make sure to hit that little red subscribe button down below, because we have a lot more awesome content coming this winter. And until then, we will see you in the next one.